Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Moai speaking. Today I want to review the war, but first things first, I want to get some housekeeping out of the way. I have been sick the past couple days, that's why I haven't uploaded as much, even though I have just started uploading, but I just want to get that out of the way. Uh, Hopefully this kind of clears up so I can do better content as we go. You might hear my voice is a little bit raspy, but I'm feeling good enough to do something today, so I want to review the war. Now, the war is a fan favorite, I would say. I think a lot of people like this weapon just because it looks cool. It has aura, as the kids say. But the problem with it is that it actually isn't that great of a weapon, or so a lot of people seem to think. And I would be inclined to agree. I think that the war does have a lot of problems, namely that it is primarily an impact weapon. Now, I think that the impact leaning is overblown as a problem because what a lot of people don't realize is that the war has forced impact on all of its hits. That is entirely independent of your status chance. So this, in theory, would be really good if impact as a status did anything. But unfortunately, it is not, so it is stuck with the large impact leaning, which, again, not as bad as people make it out to be, and I don't think it's the biggest problem that this weapon has. It's more so that it struggles against its contemporaries, the Galatine Prime and the Gram Prime. So if we go and we compare stats directly, we're at like 26, 2.6, 26, and again, large impact lean, kind of slow. We hit the Grand Prime here. You know, again, you can see much higher stats, much higher damage, higher most stuff. It's shorter weapon, though. Shorter weapon and slower than the Grand Prime. So it does have that over it. But Grand Prime is almost primarily slash. And then you have the Galatine Prime, which is its more traditional rival, I would say. Because Galatine Prime has immaculate slash damage, also higher base damage in general, and higher speed. Moreover, but I think that the war is salvageable. For those of you who like to use the war, I think I have concluded on a build that lets it carry itself, so to speak. You know, no outside involved, no buffing it. This is a build that can perform entirely on its own. Granted, it is an influence build, so I do feel like that's kind of cheating. But I think what melees don't use influence, but I think that this is a unique take on it at least. So what we're looking at here is we are actually looking at a heavy attack influence build. The idea is using Galvanized Reflex to, maintain a 5x multiplier, and then we are just throwing heavy attacks left and right. This way, we don't need to spend mod points on things like combo counter or on attack speed, because this really doesn't need attack speed. This is pretty self-sufficient on its own. It feels fine. Some of you might find it to be a little bit sluggish for your taste, and that is okay. There are options to fix that. You could possibly, swap around Weeping Wounds or something, because this isn't the biggest deal on it, since especially you have Elementalist on it as well. That pushes it to almost 100% status with its on melee kill effect. So if you really, really don't like the speed of it, that is fixable. But I am personally fine with this, and I like, the slow, it feels like a big great sword that I'm sort of swinging around when I'm doing this build, and that's what I like about it. It is satisfying. It feels good to use. You only really need Voltaic Strike. I have not opted for anything else. I think that is just fine. Gives you that extra status as well to, push it over the top. And you can see that obviously Electric is its highest proc weighting, thankfully. Yeah, you can see 4 status effects right there. Impact and impact on slam attack. On every attack. Here we go. This is going to be much better at showcasing it. The survival test will look a lot better than this. But reflex is the key to this build. It is what kind of makes it all go. It's what lets you spam heavy attacks so effectively. But as you can see, the influence is spreading pretty effectively here. And especially as you're hitting large enemies, you'll get much better results. Like, hitting one at a time here is obviously not going to be as effective, but, you still get those high damage single hits, and then you get the influence hits following up. And you do kind of have them flying away from each other. So you're not getting that grouping as well. There goes that one. Whoop. Lift is such a funny status. There you go, you're gone. And we will take this as a survival test now, and I promise it looks much better there than it does here. The influence is a lot better on the larger groups that you see there. When they get spread out in the simulacrum, it doesn't really accurately show this, and that's why I think that I've not seen this build before, is that this does not look good on paper, but in practice, it is much more effective. Also, here was some bonus content. Here is my Riven build that I have for this. This is what I'm not going to show you in detail, but this is a minus 100% impact, crit chance, range, heat. This is a fantastic build that I love. I would say it performs better than the influence build in a lot of cases, but it just cleaves through them, gives huge, huge heat procs. Like, you're seeing, like, hitting for the millions here. Look at that, 5 million. It also doesn't whip as often as the regular build does. Look at that, beautiful. So we are here with the influence build, and we are going to test it out. There is another build that I have. It is more using afflictions and heat, and I have a Riven that goes with that build, which you've probably seen in the test, but I think that if you do not have a Riven, the influence build is just going to be better for you overall. But the general gist of this here is you can see that when we take these big cleaves, that's going to create huge, huge electric procs here. It's not as easily seen in test because, you know, it's going to be a lot less effective against non-fodder enemies, but, like, these huge cleaves are going to spread like wildfire, and it's going to take them out at a much better range than you would have normally. Yeah, look at all this life support here that we are getting. It is just everywhere. We also don't even have a companion on us right now. That's the other thing that I forgot to mention. We're doing this without a companion, so if that says anything... I said, even if we're not necessarily proccing electric every single hit, the fact that we are making huge, huge electric procs when we do hit is more than making up for it. Because, like, let's see here if we can catch one on screen. What they look like. Like, we're getting, like, let's see, like 7,000, 22,000. Yeah, 22,000 seems to be about the number that you're getting. And this is, like, spreading among them as well. If you're hitting this multiple times over and over, this is absolutely going to be clearing a survival test, I think. Look at all this life support that we haven't even, like, picked up yet. It's just kind of sitting there waiting for us. And the one thing that I really like about this build and that I want to stress is that this does not need any help. This is a build that is entirely self-sufficient. No, you know, Warframe arcanes needed, no Warcry buffs. I mean, if you want to do that, you can. But generally speaking, if you want to use the war, I think that this is probably one of the most effective builds that you're going to get out of it. Let's see, we are 100 kills ahead of the curve here, so that's a really good sign. We should probably actually go pick up all this life support that we're getting. That's one thing, was we don't have a vacuum pet, but I think that it really does drive the point home that it's like, we have no buffs to this thing, this is basically the war doing all the work here. So I think that, yes, the war is very much a salvageable and usable weapon in the current year. Granted, it does take a lot of investment and love, but if you do like this weapon as much as I do, this is going to perform very admirably. And it's going to give you, like I said, these really big, satisfying heavy attack swings. Makes it feel, you feel like Guts just swinging that huge thing through crowds. If I were to buff the war, though, I think that you know, I think realistically, one of the best chances the war has to get an upgrade is the old piece. There is a non-zero chance that we get sentient liches. I think that that is something that a lot of people aren't counting on. And the war could very well get a sentient lich variant, which will obviously give it the buffs it needs. But if I were to buff the war innately, I think what I would do is I would give it, you know, a special ability. I've seen a couple options for this. One person suggested that it could get 2 arcanes instead of 1, which I think would be really, really cool. Another option that I've seen as well is to somehow incorporate the blade beams that you see the soccer launch with it. That would be really great as well. I don't know how exactly those would work, if they were just basically an extended melee range, or if they have their own properties. I really would hope that they're just basically an extended melee range, because looking at stuff like Exodia Contagion, where it has a lot of weirdness to its modding, and how you want to make it work, I think that just having it be pretty standardized, all things considered, would make it feel a much smoother. Yeah, just look at you just cleave through these groups here. Because you're getting these really large crits as well. Which, granted, you're only sitting at about, like, a roughly 50% crit chance, but either way, you're still hitting it hard. Let's see, like, that gunner just got cleaved in half. That's, like, couple hits. I don't know. I can't see its health bar. It did half the health the first time. I don't know why it was struggling there. But as you can see, it's pretty self-sufficient. It passes this test very effectively. If there are any other specific weapons that you guys would like to see me cover, please leave in the comments. I really like trying to making bad weapons good. You know, I mean, there are some that are beyond salvaging. The Stug is one of them. But I would really love to see what you guys would like me to review and try and fix. You know, maybe make a series of, you know, fixing weapons that people think aren't that good. Like, granted, I am using the war with a influence build, so in some ways that feels like cheating, but I think that at least my take on this build is pretty unique. But that will about do it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.